This past weekend, the LA Thieves played two matches, and in their second matchup, they faced off against the Boston Breach. In our last video, we talked about their first series, which was against the Vancouver Surge. Similar to the Surge series, this one was a pretty quick 3-0 as well. I think the Thieves looked even more comfortable in this one than they did against the Surge, so really there won't be too much to talk about, but I still wanted to break it down for you. To start off the series, the Thieves took on Boston in a map 1 hardpoint protocol where they won 250 to 170, and the Thieves looked really comfortable here. Scrap and Hydra having really good opening maps. Scrap 33 and 23, and then Hydra not far behind him at 29 and 23. On the side of Boston, everyone was negative besides Awakening. He was the only one to go positive at 29 and 21. And really, for them, anytime you have Snoopy kind of in the negative is not ideal for you because he's kind of like the guy for Boston. And the ARs just haven't really been doing it for them. So AR duo for Boston, you really need them to kind of like step up when you're going against a team like the Thieves, just because their AR duo is really good. And then on top of that, if you don't have your subs able to kind of open the map for the ARs, that's going to make things even more difficult, which is what I think the Thieves kind of took advantage of. The subs on the side of Boston just couldn't really open anything up. Whereas on the side of Thieves, like we said, Hydra looked fantastic. And Envoy, again, 24 and 26, really not a horrible map out of him either by any means. So this team just had a little bit of a different pace than I think Boston was ready for. And it was great to see them start off with a really quick, or what felt like a really quick map 1 to get us ahead in this series early on. That takes us to the map 2 S&D, where we played red card, and we ended up winning this one in 6-2 fashion. This one was a much more comfortable S&D showing for us. I think the Thieves look really good on red card. We didn't get to see a great version of them when they played against the Surge back at the minor, but this time the Thieves looked a lot more composed, winning this one pretty handedly. The Thieves started off winning the first two rounds before Boston got the next two after that, and then the Thieves were able to wipe the table the rest of the way, winning the next four to close it out. On the side of Thieves, everybody was positive. Hydra was the one who led the way with a 4.0 KD, going 12 and 3, just really running the map. I mean, making it really hard for Boston to get anything done. If you're going 12 and 3, I mean, the next best behind him was Scrap at 6 and 5 and Envoy at 6 and 6, and then Dan was 4 and 3. So really not like the highest kill total for the rest of the guys, but they all were positive. They all were dealing damage where they needed to. Dan was probably the lowest one at that with only 600 damage, but Scrappy being 6 at 5, he still had 1k damage. And then on the side of Boston, everybody was negative. Cammy 1 and 8, which is a really rough map from him. Awakening 5 and 7, Purge 5 and 6, and then Snoopy 6 and 7 as well. So like I said, the Thieves just look really good on red card. I think it's a map that, we've seen them play every now and then. And besides that series against Vancouver in the minor, the Thieves looked really good on this map in Search and Destroy. So I'm excited to see how this S&D trend continues, because the Thieves are looking much better at S&D as of late. That brings us to the third and final map, where the Thieves played Protocol Control. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why Boston thought it was a good idea to play Thieves on Protocol Control. As we said in the last video, the Thieves look unstoppable on Control. And it doesn't really matter the map, to be fair. But Protocol is probably their best, and that's because of how easy it is to spawn trap the other team. And that's exactly what the Thieves did. They were able to get Boston in a spawn trap multiple times and just made it so freaking hard for Boston to get out. And I'm just gonna say this one stat line here, which I didn't even realize until just now. I'm just gonna say this one stat line, and it'll show you how much the Thieves were kind of running the table. Purge finished this map 7 and 24. That is a 0.29 KD. He was obviously the worst one on his team, but finishing 7 and 24 is brutal. I mean, the Thieves were just running and gunning and making it so hard for Boston to get any type of control. on this map. Everybody on the side of Thieves was positive. Ghosty was the one who kind of ran the table. This time he was 25 and 13. Guy just couldn't die, it seemed like. I mean, he was doing it all. And I've said that this map in mode, it seems like is Dan Ghosty's number one map in mode. He seems to play really well on protocol control. Even if he starts off a little slow, he always bounces back. So it was nice to see him have a really, really good map here in that map 3. Then you had Envoy, who broke even at 21 and 21. Hydra was 23 and 18, a 1.2 KD. And then Scrap was 21 and 16 with a 1.31. On the side of Boston, we already mentioned Purge, but Cammy was negative 22 and 23. Awakening 18 and 23. And then Snoopy, the only one positive for them, going 21 and 20. So the Thieves really just looked much better than Boston. And the interesting thing about this is that the very next day, FaZe took on Boston, and that went to a game 5. And it went pretty far in the game 5 as well, if I remember correctly. So I mean, I'm not gonna say that because the Thieves 3 of Boston that we can just smoke FaZe. I don't think that's exactly how that works. But it's definitely interesting to see that the Thieves played that well against a team that just took FaZe to a game 5. I know it's online and I know it's day to day, things change, but that should be a really good sign for this Thieves team. And up next, we got Optic in our second to last match of the Major 2 qualifiers. And then our last match, I believe, is against Minnesota, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure though, but those are going to be our last 2 matches before we actually get to the major tournament. So we will be watch partying those this coming weekend. Be sure to tune into that. But that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.